The turkey was perfect. I'd spent 6 hours on it, basting every 30 minutes, monitoring the temperature like a surgeon watching vital signs. Even my father, who taught me everything I know about cooking, would have been proud. Which is why I couldn't process what I was hearing through my phone. "You've humiliated this entire family, Brielle. The turkey was inedible, simply inedible." Diana's voice crackled with that particular brand of venom she reserved just for me. "What are you talking about? I followed Grandmother Evelyn's recipe exactly. I had to throw the whole thing away. Do you know how embarrassing it is to explain to our guests why we're serving ham at Thanksgiving? This is exactly why I told Adam you weren't ready to host." My fingers gripped the kitchen counter until my knuckles went white. "I'm Brielle, and for 3 years I've been trying to prove myself worthy of the Collins family name. But apparently, marrying Adam wasn't enough. Neither was leaving my career in product development to help modernize their restaurant empire's brand identity. And now, according to my mother-in-law, I couldn't even cook a turkey. Diana, I tested that recipe twice last week. The turkey was what, dear? Because I had to watch James's business partners pick at dry, tasteless meat while trying not to grimace. Emily had to run to the store for ham. Ham? At Thanksgiving?" I closed my eyes, remembering how proud I'd felt when I'd pulled that golden brown masterpiece from the oven. The skin had crackled perfectly, the meat practically falling off the bone. I'd even taken photos. The photos. "Diana, I have pictures of the turkey before I left it in your kitchen. Would you like to see them?" A pause. Brief, but telling. "Don't be ridiculous. I disposed of that disaster hours ago. The point is, you've embarrassed us all, and quite frankly, I'm concerned about your place in this family, if you can't handle even the most basic traditions." My free hand found my phone's camera roll. There it was, my turkey in all its glory, documented from every angle. Something wasn't adding up. "Where's Adam?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "He's busy damage controlling your mess, naturally. Listen, dear, perhaps it's best if you skip the Christmas celebration. Give everyone some time to forget this incident." The pieces clicked together like a sinister puzzle. Diana had been trying to edge me out since day one, but this was a new low. "Actually," I said, "I think I'll call Emily right now. I'd love to hear about her emergency ham run." Another pause, longer this time. "There's no need to bother Emily. She's busy damage controlling my mess? Funny, I just got a text from her 5 minutes ago. She's at her boyfriend's family dinner in Boston. Has been all day." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "You threw away a perfectly good turkey, didn't you, Diana? Just to make me look bad. How dare you accuse me?" "Save it," I cut in, surprising myself with the ice in my voice. "I'm going to find out exactly what happened to my turkey. And when I do, everyone's going to know what you did, including Adam." "Nobody will believe you over me," Diana hissed. "I've been part of this family for 35 years. You're just the girl who got lucky with my son." I looked at the photos again, then at the recipe card my father had given me, the one he'd used in his restaurant for 20 years. "We'll see about that," I said, and hung up. My hands were shaking as I set down the phone. 3 years of snide comments, backhanded compliments, and subtle undermining had led to this moment. Diana had finally overplayed her hand, and now I had proof. The question was, what was I going to do with it? I opened my contacts and scrolled to Emily's name. It was time to find out just how many other family members were tired of Diana's games. One way or another, this turkey scandal was about to blow up in her face. Adam found me in our kitchen at midnight, staring at the photos on my phone. He dropped his briefcase by the door and loosened his tie, exhaustion etched across his face. "Mum called," he said, and my stomach clenched. "She's pretty upset." "Is she?" I swiped through the photos again. "Did she mention throwing away my perfectly good turkey?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Look, I know she can be difficult." "Difficult?" I set my phone down harder than necessary. She sabotaged Thanksgiving dinner just to make me look bad. She lied about Emily getting ham. Bree, please. Adam's voice carried that familiar note of defeat. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. You know how she gets about family traditions. I studied my husband's face, the way he couldn't quite meet my eyes, the slight downturn of his mouth. 3 years of marriage, and still he defaulted to peacekeeping. Show me the garbage, I said. What? If my turkey was so terrible that she had to throw it away, show me the evidence. Right now. Adam shifted uncomfortably. The cleaning service already came. How convenient. I pulled up Emily's text and held it out. Read this. His eyes scanned the message. Having dinner with Jake's family in Boston. Hope your turkey turned out as amazing as the test runs. Send pics. She's lying, Adam. Your mother is lying, and you know it. He leaned against the counter, shoulders slumping. What do you want me to do? Accuse my own mother of what? Of systematically trying to drive me out of this family? Of undermining everything I do? My voice cracked. Of making me feel like I'll never be good enough for her precious son. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken words. Finally, Adam moved closer, reaching for my hand. You are good enough, he said softly. More than good enough. But if we confront her directly, she'll just deny everything. You know how she operates. So we do nothing. Let her keep playing these games. We pick our battles. Keep the peace until what? I pulled away from him. Until she succeeds in convincing everyone I'm incompetent. Until she drives us apart. My phone buzzed. A message from James Collins, my father-in-law. Diana mentioned concerns about today. Let's discuss over lunch tomorrow. 1 p.m., the Capitol Grill. Adam read the message over my shoulder and swore under his breath. She's already spinning this her way. Good, I said, surprising us both. Let her dig herself deeper. Bree. No, think about it. Your father's not stupid. He built an empire by reading people. If Diana's lying about this, what else has she lied about? Adam's expression shifted, a flash of recognition crossing his face. The design proposals, he said slowly. The ones that disappeared from your desk last month. And the client meeting she scheduled over our anniversary dinner. The misplaced invitation to Grandmother Evelyn's birthday. We looked at each other, really looked, as 3 years of accidents and misunderstandings crystallized into something darker. I have the photos, I said. I have Emily's text. And tomorrow, I'll have lunch with your father. Adam touched my cheek, his fingers trembling slightly. Be careful. Mum's got 30 years of influence behind her. If you're going to expose her... I need proof, I finished. Undeniable evidence that shows everyone who she really is. He nodded, then pulled me close. Whatever you decide to do, he whispered against my hair, I'm with you. No more peacekeeping. I held him tight, breathing in his familiar scent, feeling the steady beat of his heart against mine. For the first time since Diana's call, hope flickered in my chest. But as I thought about tomorrow's lunch, another emotion surfaced. Something colder, more calculated. Diana wanted to play games. Fine. But she'd forgotten something crucial. Before joining the Collins family business, I'd spent years in product development. I knew how to document everything, build a case, and present evidence that no one could ignore. The game was about to change. The Capitol Grill's private dining room felt like a trap. James Collins sat across from me, his usual commanding presence softened by genuine concern. Between us, an untouched plate of Wagyu beef grew cold. Diana's worried about you, Brielle, he said, dabbing his mouth with a napkin. She thinks the pressure of joining the family business might be affecting your judgment. I set down my water glass carefully. Did she mention the turkey? She did. He leaned forward. But we both know this isn't about a turkey. Before I could respond, the door opened. Diana glided in, her Hermes scarf perfectly arranged, her smile razor-sharp. I hope you don't mind me joining, she said, taking the seat beside James. I felt we should discuss this as a family. My phone buzzed in my lap. A text from Adam. Mum just left the office, said she had an emergency. I slipped the phone back into my pocket, watching Diana pour herself water with practiced grace. Actually, I said, I'm glad you're here. We should talk about the design proposals that went missing last month. Diana's hand trembled slightly as she set down the water pitcher. Ancient history, dear. We found them eventually. After the deadline passed, I turned to James. Did you know they were in Diana's desk the whole time? Emily saw them there when she was looking for stamps. That's absurd, Diana cut in. Emily never what? Never goes in your office or never tells the truth. I pulled out my phone, pulled up the photos of the turkey. Like how you told everyone she bought ham on Thanksgiving when she was actually in Boston. James frowned, looking between us. Diana? James, surely you're not going to believe these ridiculous accusations. But her voice had lost its smooth edge. Brielle's clearly. The dining room door opened again. Emily stood there, still in her chef's whites from the restaurant kitchen. Sorry I'm late. Brielle asked me to join. Diana's face went pale. This is a private family matter. I am family, Emily said, sliding into the chair next to me. And I have something to show Uncle James. She pulled out her phone, started playing a video. Diana's voice filled the room. Of course I threw it away. That little upstart thinks she can take my place. James actually listens to her design ideas. My design ideas weren't good enough, but hers. A bitter laugh. Well, we'll see how long she lasts when everyone thinks she can't even cook a basic turkey. The silence that followed was deafening. James stared at his wife of 35 years like he was seeing a stranger. You recorded me. Diana's voice shook with rage. You ungrateful little... I record everything in the kitchen, Emily said quietly. Restaurant policy. You know that, Aunt Diana. You helped write the employee handbook. I watched Diana's carefully constructed world start to crack. She turned to James, reaching for his hand. Darling, you have to understand. Understand what? His voice was ice. That you've been systematically trying to undermine the woman our son loves. That you'd sabotage our family business just to maintain control. I built this family. Diana's composure shattered. I gave up my career for you, for all of this. And now she comes in with her fresh ideas and her perfect cooking and her... She spat the words. Working-class background. And suddenly I'm supposed to just step aside. No one asked you to step aside, I said, surprising myself with how calm I felt. You did that yourself, with every lie, every manipulation, every attempt to make me feel worthless. James stood up, straightening his suit jacket. Emily, please send that video to my office. Brielle, I believe we owe you an apology. Several, in fact. He looked at his wife. Diana, we'll discuss this at home, in detail. Diana's face contorted. You're choosing her side. After everything I'm choosing the truth, he said simply. Something you might want to try sometime. As they left, Emily squeezed my hand under the table. You okay? I watched Diana's rigid back disappear through the door, thinking about all the carefully planned moves that had led to this moment. The satisfaction I'd expected to feel was there, but it was hollow, tainted by something else, something that felt dangerously like Diana's own bitterness. I don't know, I answered honestly, but I think this is just the beginning. The Collins family estate loomed before me, its windows dark except for one, Diana's study. I sat in my car, watching her shadow move across the curtains, remembering Emily's words from lunch. She's not done. This is when she's most dangerous. My phone lit up with a text from my father. Got your message. Coming tomorrow. Some things you need to know. The front door opened, spilling light onto the driveway. Diana emerged, carrying a box to her car. Even at this distance, I recognized my design portfolios, the ones she'd claimed were accidentally shredded last month. I stepped out of my car. Need help with that? She froze, then straightened her spine. Enjoying your little victory, are you? Those are my designs. Correction, they're company property. She placed the box in her trunk. And since James has temporarily relieved me of my duties, I'm simply organizing things. You mean destroying evidence? Her laugh was brittle. Evidence, please. You have no idea what evidence really looks like. She pulled an envelope from her jacket. Remember when you first joined the company? That brilliant restaurant redesign concept you presented. My stomach dropped. What about it? Funny thing about intellectual property, it's all about who documents it first. She held up the envelope. Would you like to see the dated designs I submitted to the patent office 6 months before you joined us? Amazing how similar they are to yours. That's impossible. I developed that concept. And now you're going to be exposed as a fraud. Her smile was vicious. I wonder how James will feel about his daughter-in-law stealing company designs. How will Adam react when his precious wife is revealed as a cheat? My hands shook. No one will believe you. Everyone will believe the paperwork, the timestamps, the digital trail I've carefully created. She closed her trunk. You thought you could destroy me? Darling, I've been playing this game since before you were born. Heavy footsteps crunched on gravel. Adam appeared from the shadows. Is that why you had me handle all the patent submissions when I first started, Mum? So you'd know exactly how to fake the documentation? Diana's composure cracked. Adam, I kept copies of everything, he continued, his voice eerily calm, including the original submission dates. Did you really think I wouldn't protect my wife? I'm protecting this family. Diana's voice rose. She's changing everything. The company, you, all of it. Someone had to stop her. The only one who needs stopping is you. Adam moved beside me, his hand finding mine. Dad's waiting for those files in his study, all of them. Diana's face contorted. You choose her over your own mother. No, he said quietly. I'm choosing what's right, something you taught me once upon a time. She got into her car without another word, the engine roaring to life. As she sped away, I sagged against Adam. How long have you known? I asked. About the patents, since she first started acting strange about your designs. I didn't want to believe it, but he pulled me closer. I started documenting everything after that, just in case. My phone buzzed again, another text from my father. Diana tried to buy my restaurant 5 years ago, threatened to destroy it when I refused. Keep your guard up. The pieces clicked together. Diana's obsession with control, her failed design career, her desperate need to maintain power. She hadn't just been trying to push me out, she'd been preparing for this fight long before I entered the picture. We need to tell your father everything, I said, not just about the patents. Adam nodded, but his expression was troubled. She's not going to stop, is she? I thought about Diana's calculated smile, the years of manipulation revealed in those few minutes. The woman had turned sabotage into an art form, and I'd just become her masterpiece project. No, I replied, she's not. But neither am I. We walked toward the house, where James waited, with 30 years of his own suspicions. It was time to unravel Diana's web, thread by careful thread. But as we climbed the steps, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were walking into exactly the kind of chaos she thrived on. The game had changed, but so had the players, and I was done playing defense. My father arrived at our house carrying a worn leather briefcase I hadn't seen since his restaurant days. Adam watched from the kitchen doorway as Dad spread documents across our dining table. 5 years ago, he said, sliding over a letter with Diana's signature, she offered to buy Thompson's, said she'd modernize it, make it part of the Collins empire. You never told me, I said, scanning the aggressive acquisition proposal, because what came after was worse. He pulled out more papers, health department complaints, anonymous reviews, supplier cancellations. All fabricated, all traced back to shell companies she controlled. Nearly destroyed everything I'd built. Adam's knuckles went white against the doorframe. Why would she... Control, my father said simply. Your mother doesn't just want influence, son. She wants to own everything that threatens her. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw Emily's car in our driveway, and beside it, an unfamiliar Mercedes. "That'll be Grandmother Evelyn," Adam said. "I called her." The family matriarch entered like a queen, Emily trailing behind her. Evelyn's eyes fixed on the papers covering our table, then moved to my father. "Marcus Thompson," she said. "It's been too long." Dad straightened. "Mrs. Collins." "Please, it's Evelyn." She settled into a chair, her presence filling the room. "I believe we share a common problem." Emily pulled out her phone, played a new recording. Diana's voice filled the room. "Once I release those forged patents, she'll never work in design again. James will have no choice but to fire her. The family will disown her." "When was this?" I asked. "This morning," Emily said. She was talking to her lawyer. Evelyn's expression hardened. 35 years ago, Diana presented James with designs she claimed were hers. I knew they weren't. I'd seen the original artist's work in Paris. But I stayed quiet, hoping she'd prove herself worthy of my son in other ways. She shook her head. "I've been paying for that silence ever since." My hands trembled as I gathered the documents. "She's going to release the fake patents at the Christmas party next week, in front of everyone." "Yes," Evelyn said, "but we'll be ready." Adam moved behind my chair, his hand on my shoulder. "How?" "Because," my father pulled out one final document, "I kept everything from when she tried to destroy my restaurant, including emails she didn't know could be traced." Emily leaned forward. "And I have recordings going back months. The kitchen cameras catch everything." "I have the original patent paperwork," Adam added. "And I," Evelyn said, "have 35 years of carefully documented lies, including proof about those Paris designs." The weight of it all, the evidence, the years of manipulation, the carefully constructed plan for revenge, suddenly felt suffocating. "This will destroy her," I whispered. "She's trying to destroy you," Emily reminded me. "I know, but—" I stood up, pacing. "What if we're becoming just like her, playing these games, plotting revenge?" "There's a difference," my father said quietly, "between revenge and justice." "Is there?" I turned to Adam. "Your mother is horrible, but she's still your mother. Can you really do this to her?" Adam's face was torn between pain and determination. "She's doing this to herself. Has been for years." Evelyn rose, her movements deliberate. "Diana will be at the Christmas party tomorrow night, ready to humiliate you in front of everyone we know. The question isn't whether we can do this to her. It's whether we can let her continue destroying lives." My phone buzzed. A text from James. "Diana's lawyer just contacted me about patent violations. Meeting tomorrow morning. Need you there." The trap was closing, but I wasn't sure anymore who was caught in it, Diana or all of us. "Okay," I said finally. "But we do this right, not for revenge, but for truth. And—" I looked at Adam, saw the conflict in his eyes. "We give her one chance to confess, one chance to stop this before it goes too far." Evelyn nodded slowly. "Tomorrow night, then. One way or another, this ends." We spent the next hour planning, each person adding their piece to the puzzle. But as I watched these people, I loved plotting Diana's downfall. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were crossing a line, one we might never be able to uncross. The Collins family Christmas party sparkled with false cheer. I watched Diana work the room, her silver dress catching the light as she moved from group to group, whispering, smiling, poisoning the well before I could even speak. "She's already shown them the patents," Emily murmured, appearing at my elbow with 2 champagne flutes. "Half the board members won't even look at you." I took the champagne but didn't drink. "Where's Adam?" "Still trying to reach his father. Diana's lawyers got to him first this morning." Across the room, Diana caught my eye and raised her glass in mock salute. The folder tucked under her arm, the one containing her fabricated evidence, seemed to pulse like a bomb waiting to detonate. "It's time," Evelyn said, joining us. "Before she—" The room fell silent as James Collins stepped onto the small stage where the band had been playing. Diana moved to join him, triumph written across her face. "Where's Adam?" I whispered again, more urgently. "Ladies and gentlemen," James began, his voice tight, "I'm afraid I have a rather serious announcement to make regarding some recent discoveries about patent infringement within our company." My heart stopped. This wasn't the plan. James was supposed to wait. Diana reached the stage, that damned folder open in her hands. "James, darling, perhaps I should—" "No," he cut in. "I think as CEO I should handle this." He turned to the crowd. "It seems someone has been stealing designs and claiming them as their own." I stepped forward, the evidence from my father burning in my purse. "Mr. Collins, Brielle," his voice was ice, "I'm sorry, but given the evidence presented this morning, I'm going to have to ask for your resignation." The room erupted in whispers. Diana's smile widened. "That evidence is fake," I said, my voice shaking. "I can prove—" "We have dated documentation," Diana interrupted smoothly. "Patents filed months before you joined the company." "Really, dear? Did you think you wouldn't get caught?" "Show them the real patents," I demanded, reaching for my purse. But when I opened it, the documents were gone. Emily's sharp intake of breath matched my own rising panic. "They were just here," she whispered. "I saw them an hour ago." Diana's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "Looking for these?" She pulled another set of papers from her folder. "My father's evidence. Found them in your purse while you were helping in the kitchen. Really, trying to forge evidence to defend yourself. That's rather desperate, don't you think?" The room spun. Everything we'd planned, every piece of evidence we'd gathered, she'd somehow stayed one step ahead. "Where's Adam?" I asked again, my voice cracking. "Oh, he won't be joining us," Diana said. "He's quite upset about discovering his wife's deceptions. Isn't that right, James?" James nodded grimly. "He's the one who confirmed the original patent dates this morning." The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Adam had verified her lies, but he knew. "No," Emily started. "That's not—" "Emily, dear," Diana cut in, "the kitchen needs you. Unless you'd like to join Brielle in unemployment." I watched Emily's face crumple as she backed away, leaving me alone in the center of the room. Evelyn had vanished. My father's evidence was in Diana's hands. And Adam— "Security will escort you out," James said, not meeting my eyes. "Your personal items will be sent to you." Diana stepped down from the stage, pausing as she passed me. "I warned you," she whispered. "You never had a chance." As security approached, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window, alone, surrounded by hostile faces, everything I'd built crumbling around me. Diana hadn't just outmaneuvered me. She'd turned my own weapons against me, used my own husband to deliver the killing blow. The guard's hand touched my elbow. Through the crowd's murmurs, I heard Diana's voice one last time. "Don't worry, dear. I'm sure you can find work somewhere, though perhaps not in design, or restaurants, or really anywhere in the city." They led me out into the cold, and the door closed behind me with a final damning click. I made it 3 steps into the parking lot before Adam's voice cut through the December air. "Wait!" He sprinted toward me, clutching a laptop. Behind him, Emily and Evelyn emerged from a side door, followed by my father. "We don't have much time," Adam said, breathing hard. "Mum's lawyers are already drawing up cease and desist orders." "You verified her patents," I said, the betrayal still raw in my throat. "I verified them were fake." He opened the laptop. "Every document she submitted this morning has digital timestamps from last week. I just needed her to think she'd won so she'd present them publicly." Inside, we could hear Diana's voice rising above the murmurs, probably spinning more lies about my disgrace. But something else caught my attention, a red light blinking on Adam's laptop screen. "Is that—" "Live streaming to the boardroom," Emily said, grinning. "Every word she's saying right now is being recorded and transmitted to the company's senior partners." "But that's not all," my father added, pulling out his phone. "Remember those supplier cancellations she orchestrated against my restaurant? The payments all traced back to one of her private accounts." Evelyn stepped forward, her eyes gleaming. "Shall we go back inside? I believe I have something to say about those Paris designs she stole 35 years ago. The ballroom fell silent when we re-entered. Diana's triumph turned to confusion, then fear, as she saw us all together. "What is this?" she demanded. "The truth," Adam said, turning his laptop toward the crowd. The screen showed a split view, Diana's forged patents on one side, the digital timestamps proving their recent creation on the other. "Those are," Diana started. "Fake," James finished, his voice heavy with realization. "Just like the designs you claimed were yours in Paris." Diana's head snapped toward Evelyn. "You wouldn't dare." "I've dared worse, my dear." Evelyn's voice carried across the room. "Like keeping every letter from the real designer threatening legal action, the ones you thought I'd destroyed." Diana laughed, but it sounded hollow. "You have no proof of anything." "Actually," Emily stepped forward, holding up her phone. "We have your confession from the kitchen, about the turkey, the patents, everything. And thanks to company policy, the one you helped write, all kitchen recordings are admissible in legal proceedings." The room erupted in whispers. Board members pulled out phones, executives huddled in corners. Diana's carefully constructed world was unraveling thread by thread. "James," she pleaded, turning to her husband, "you can't believe—" "The supplier payments to sabotage Thompson's restaurant," he cut in. "Those came from our joint account. I checked this morning." Diana's face contorted. "Everything I did for this family. To protect us from people like her." She jabbed a finger at me. "She's changing everything, destroying everything we built." "No, Mother," Adam said quietly. "You did that yourself." Diana looked around wildly, seeing support crumble, allies turn away. But instead of backing down, something in her snapped. "You ungrateful little witch," she snarled, lunging for me. "I'll destroy you." My father stepped between us, his voice cutting like a chef's knife. "Like you tried to destroy my restaurant, my reputation, my daughter's career." Diana froze, realizing too late that her outburst was still being live-streamed to the boardroom. "Diana," James said, his voice heavy with finality, "I want you out of this house, tonight, and expect to hear from our lawyers in the morning." The security guards who'd escorted me out minutes earlier now moved toward Diana. But before they reached her, she straightened her spine, smoothed her dress, and managed one last venomous smile. "Congratulations, Brielle. You've won this round. But remember, you had to become exactly like me to do it." As they led her away, her words hung in the air like smoke. I felt Adam's hand find mine, squeezing gently. Around us, the family began to gather, not in judgment now, but in support. But Diana's parting shot had found its mark. In destroying her, had I become her? The victory felt hollow, tainted by the truth in her final accusation. The game was over. But the cost of winning remained to be seen. The kitchen smelled of roasting turkey and fresh herbs. I adjusted the oven temperature, checking the bird's color through the glass. Golden brown, perfectly done. Just like Thanksgiving, except this time, no one would throw it away. "Need help?" Emily asked from the doorway. "Almost finished." I pulled out my phone, took a photo of the turkey. Old habits die hard. The Collins family waited in the dining room. James, Evelyn, Adam, even my father. Our first family dinner since Diana's departure. The divorce papers had been signed yesterday. "The board approved your redesigned proposal," Emily said, setting plates on the counter. "Uncle James wants to start implementation next month." I nodded, but my eyes drifted to the envelope sitting unopened on the kitchen island. Diana's handwriting, her final words before leaving the city. I'd found it in our mailbox this morning. "You don't have to read it," Adam said, appearing behind Emily. He'd been watching me eye that envelope all day. "I know." But I picked it up anyway, broke the seal. Inside was a single photograph. Diana in Paris 35 years ago, standing beside a design board. Her smile was different then, genuine, full of hope. On the back, she'd written, "We're more alike than you think. That's what terrifies me." "Brie?" Adam touched my shoulder. "The turkey's ready." I slipped the photo back into the envelope, tucked it into my recipe box beside my mother's old cards. Some things you keep, not because they're pleasant, but because they remind you of who you don't want to become. The turkey came out perfectly. I carved it at the table while James discussed the company's future, while Emily detailed her plans for the restaurant division, while Evelyn shared stories of family dinners past. My father watched me with quiet pride, and Adam's hand found mine under the table. But between the laughter and plans and healing, Diana's words echoed. We're more alike than you think. Maybe she was right. Maybe we shared the same drive, the same determination, the same capacity for calculated revenge. But there was one crucial difference. I had a choice. Every day I could choose between protecting what I loved and destroying what I feared. A toast, James raised his glass. To family. To truth, Evelyn added. To fresh starts, Emily chimed in. I looked at Adam, saw in his eyes the same question that had haunted me since that night. Had justice been worth the cost? To choices, I said finally, raising my glass, and to the people who help us make the right ones. The crystal clinked, the conversation flowed, and slowly, the weight of the past months began to lift. Diana was gone, but she'd left behind more than just wreckage. She'd left a warning, a mirror, a chance to choose a different path. Later, as I packed leftovers for everyone to take home, a new tradition perhaps, I found myself humming my father's old kitchen song, the one he'd sung during hard times at the restaurant, about how the finest meals come from the hottest fires. You know, Adam said, wrapping his arms around my waist, most people would have broken under what she did to you. Maybe, I leaned back against him, or maybe we just need to remember that revenge isn't the only way to protect what matters. Through the kitchen window, I could see my father helping Emily load containers into her car, James and Evelyn walking arm in arm toward their driver. Family, messy, complicated, worth fighting for, but not worth destroying yourself over. I closed the recipe box, Diana's photo safely buried beneath years of family history and love expressed through food. Some recipes you follow exactly, others you adapt, and some you leave behind entirely. The choice, I realized, had always been mine to make. Come on, I told Adam, handing him the last container of leftovers. Let's go home. I'm thinking of trying a new recipe tomorrow. He smiled, understanding what I meant. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, loving deeply, and leaving the bitterness behind. Even if some small part of you never forgets how to make it.